Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and today we have a very special guest with us, Cy Kellett, the host of Catholic Answers Live. Now, Cy has been guiding listeners through complex and fascinating questions about the Catholic faith, providing insights and clarity on a wide range of topics. We're very excited to have him here with us today, but without further ado, good morning and welcome to the show, Cy.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. Are you aware of the time on the West Coast? Are you aware?
Almost too aware, Cy, because we're on the same time zone. I feel you.
Okay. I'm so happy to be on with you. I was so happy to get to meet you the other day, and thanks very much for having me on.
Absolutely, yes. It was a pleasure meeting you in person as well. Now, before we get into it, Cy, I was definitely not cyberstalking you for information earlier, and discovered you actually worked with the homeless mentally ill in Massachusetts. Tell us a little about that.
Oh yeah, I graduated from Boston College, and then I started teaching at a boys' high school. I was teaching religion at a boys' high school outside of Boston, and the boys would do retreats. The senior boys would do retreats several times a year, and one of the retreats that was offered was to go and stay at this Catholic worker house in the city and kind of experience the life of serving the poor over the course of a weekend. And I used to do those retreats. I would go on those retreats, and that's how I discovered the Catholic worker, and I discovered the work that they do in the city. And I actually I got really caught up in it, and I quit quit teaching, and I spent a couple of years living in the Catholic worker house, which is it's a home where we basically serve meals to in the morning, serve breakfast to men who lived on the street, and then in the evening meals for seniors who lived in the neighborhood. And so I got more and more involved in that. It's Dorothy Day was the founder of it. The Catholic worker is, it's very different city to city, wherever you go, but it was a beautiful experience. I was real privileged to get to do it. It's kind of I think a lot of young people get caught up in the beauty of what Dorothy Day chose to do, which was this kind of direct service to people who live on the street.
That's so cool. Very inspiring. And also what's inspiring is, Cy, you've been hosting the most popular apologetic show since 2011, correct?
No, not since 2011. Don't make me do math, man. But
it's too early for you to do math. No, it's been a while.
It's 8
been
years.
8 years. Yeah.
So it must be 2017.
2017. Okay.
2017 I started. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what have you learned from all those 8 years from callers over the course of those?
Well, I mean, I guess a couple things. One thing that I have one negative thing that I have learned is that there are a lot of people, especially young people today, who have virtually no exposure to religion. They don't know even the basics, or the basics that they do know are really very, very basics. So there's a real role for basic introduction, explanation to the faith, and we should not move too fast beyond that. In Catholic media, for example, that sometimes we get into the controversies and the upsets and all that, and because that's the level we're at. But we have to remember a lot of people are at the level of they need an introduction to Jesus. They need a basic introduction to the faith, and we got to be careful not to move too quickly past that. I suppose the other thing is the opposite thing, which is there are people now, I think because of, like, say, Guadalupe Radio, it's been on the air decades now. People who have been listening are very well catechized and at a very high level. So we have this other group of people whose questions are very, very sophisticated. And some are Catholics and some are non-Catholics, but they ask very, very sophisticated questions. So I feel like we have this dual problem of, or kind of dual mandate where we need to be able to reach people at a very, very basic level. But there's also people now, because of Catholic radio, because of the various Catholic media that are very accessible, who have very high level questions, and we got to be prepared for them as well. It's an odd kind of mix in the audience today.
Well, you certainly do. All of you do a fine balance of catering to both ends of the spectrum with, you know, different topics at different shows. You know, having those that aren't Catholic call in only, and sometimes you just have Catholics call in. But speaking of the show in general, how has the format and focus of Catholic Answers evolved since you started hosting the show?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think that we've done over the course of the 8 years is kind of focus more and more and more on what we do well. And we did come to realize that, and it's painful decisions we've had to make, but people really like our apologists. They get to know the Jimmy Akins, the Tim Staples, the Trent Horns, all our guys, you know. And so we've tried to focus. I think people will notice that we have fewer and fewer outside guests, and we let those guys take more and more hours because that consistency people are looking for. But then that lets us also do some other kind of fun things, which is like do a game show. Or do shows where only kids can call in, and kind of build up on the things that our guys have the ability to do. So I guess we've kind of narrowed. We have fewer and fewer outside guests, although we still do have them, and but I think we have a greater variety of shows because we can kind of create stuff that fits for our guys. Like I just love doing the game show with Carlo. Dr. Carlo Roussard, you know, I think people think he's so serious, and then they find out how much fun he is when we do the game show with him. So it's that kind of thing.
That's so cool. And one thing that I would never have guessed, if you would have asked me like 10 years ago, that I could watch Catholic Answers live on Twitch, which, if anyone's unfamiliar out there, it's the largest video game streaming platform outside of YouTube. That said, are we ever going to see Jimmy Akin live stream Fortnite while he answers weird questions?
The thing is, I'm glad you picked Jimmy, because of all of them, the one you're most likely to see that from is Jimmy. He loves to color outside the lines. He's very much willing to engage. I mean, they're all willing to engage the culture wherever it is, but Jimmy, I think that's kind of he would love to do that. But I don't know if any of them are any good at video games. I have no idea if any of them are any good. I will say this, Trent Horn probably thinks he's good at them, but I don't know if he is actually good at them. So I don't know. It is amazing the platforms we're on, though. Like sometimes it says, you know, I don't know how your call sheet looks, but ours, like it tells us where the person's calling from and where they're listening. And sometimes I don't even know what that platform is. I've never heard of it before. You know, I'll be like, I didn't know we were on that.
Well, it's amazing how you like you mentioned, like you're going out there and meeting people in the culture, and Twitch is the perfect place to do it because people are probably looking for, you know, watching somebody play video games, which I really don't understand per se, but they come across Catholic Answers and it's engaging. And even then, your app has the ability to do polls, which is incredible because it's also engaging the listeners in that manner. It's incredible, the technology that you've all been kind of staying in the forefront with.
Well, we have an amazing COO, Chief Operating Officer, John Sorensen, who's actually today he's at the Vatican discussing artificial intelligence. They're having some kind of artificial intelligence conference, and he's there because he is a guy that keeps us at the forefront. He's like, you know, our attitude could probably be summed up as any platform, anytime. You know, like we just want to be there. We don't care what your platform is. If you'll let us on, now that we don't have the staff to be able to do everything, but we have the willingness, you know, where, and I think you're the same way. Guadalupe Radio, the idea is, look, we'll be on radio towers if that's where we can find you. But if there's somewhere else that we can find you and be of service and try to share the message, we're going to be there too if we can do it. And John's really good at that. John Sorensen, our COO. I'm sorry, I'm not really good with the letters, but
like you said, math and words are really difficult in the morning. I understand. It happens to me every single morning.
Well, thank you for saying in the morning, because where I am in life, it's not just in the morning, but yeah, okay, I'll go with that.
We'll run with that. Earlier we were talking about with religious demonologist Adam Bly about the strangest things he's seen during exorcisms. And so what is the strangest call that you might have gotten on Catholic Answers?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you had Adam Bly on. You know, he does that show with Debbie Georgianni, and Debbie and I are friends.
That's
and
right.
Debbie's like always in the background of good stuff happening in Catholic media. But I'm glad you had him on. The strangest is I can't. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete with Adam on that. I mean,
you got 40 seconds left, by the way.
You kind of set me up on that. But the funny thing is that even the most basic call can be really strange, because for us, one of the things that we have learned is answer the caller, not just the question. And so sometimes even the most basic call of, say, about purgatory is really a call about, I am struggling with the Catholic faith. I'm struggling with this or that, or I want to believe, but I don't want to believe, or that kind of thing. So I think Carl Keating taught me that there's a question that the person has that they come with, but there's a need that they have underneath the question, and that we should be about reaching that. So I don't know how I got off on that, but but I was thinking about that, as you said, the strangest question, because it's the person that has the strange need. You just got to get past the introductory question.
Yeah. Wow. Great answer. That was incredible. Thank you so much, Cy Kellett, for joining us. We can obviously catch you on Catholic Answers Live. So good to have you on. Thanks again.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Always. And that is it for Morning Joy, where truth matters. Now, we'll see you bright and early Monday morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern. But otherwise, God bless and make it a joyful day. We'll see you in the After Show Clubhouse, too. Social media, search GRN Online or Morning Joy Radio. We'll see you soon.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.